When someone sees me, they don't see me as undocumented first, or even an immigrant. I'm seen as an African American. So all the hell that black people catch in America, I catch the same hell. On top of that, I have the extra layer of being undocumented.
There's a lot going on with immigration right now. Dreamers are fighting an uphill battle with DACA. Young migrants and refugees are being turned away at our southern border. Last year, many of us were introduced to the realities of being young and undocumented when 21 Savage was taken into custody. Just like 21 Savage, actor Bamba John Bamba was brought to the United States when he was just a young boy.
My name is Bamba John Bamba. I am originally from the Ivory Coast, that's in West Africa. I am a father, a husband, a brother, an actor, filmmaker, and immigrant rights advocate, and a DACA recipient.
Bamba John's family fled the Ivory Coast when a political crisis unraveled and turned violent.
In the early 90s, the first president that ushered us into independence passed away after 30 years of power, and the country started becoming unstable. And my family was involved in politics, so that's why my dad decided that we seek asylum in America. And in 1993, that's when I landed in the South Bronx. My realization of being undocumented was pretty gradual. My family applied for political asylum when we first got here, and my first memory of going to an immigration jail, I must have been like 11 or 12. But a lot of us find out we're undocumented when it's time to start driving. So if you go to DMV, you're like, Mom, I need these documents, and they don't have the documents. And then when it's time to go to college, a lot of us can't avail of any financial aid.
DACA, or the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, is an Obama-era program that provides young immigrants who are brought to the U.S. as kids with authorization to live and work in America and protects them from being deported. It's the result of decades of immigrant-led organizing by undocumented youth like Bamba, who called themselves Dreamers.
So DACA is almost like you're on this parole, and you have to continuously check in every 2 years. So you basically apply as a DACA recipient to get 2 years. You pay $500, you give your fingerprints, and this happens every 2 years. So if you have any kind of interaction with the law, any kind of misdemeanor, you may be disqualified from DACA forever.
Ever since Trump became president in 2017, he's been trying to end DACA. Actually, he did, but in June of this year, the Supreme Court ruled that the Trump administration's actions to terminate DACA were illegal and had the program reinstated. The future of DACA remains in limbo, as the Trump administration has decided it will not accept new applications and will limit renewals to 1 year instead of 2.
When I say I'm black and undocumented, it means that anything that has to do with immigration reform or family separation or DACA or any kind of relief that immigrants get, it affects me personally. So when someone sees me, they don't see me as undocumented first, or even an immigrant. I'm seen as an African American. So all the hell that black people catch in America, I catch the same hell. On top of that, I have the extra layer of being undocumented. So what's on the table as far as immigration is concerned, for me, is complete liberation for both groups, because both our groups are affected by, when people talk about detention centers that affects immigrants, we can also talking about the prison industrial complex that definitely affects black people more. We're overrepresented. So the same way we talk about police brutality, it not only affects black people, but also affects black and brown people. When we talk about family separation, I mean, people talk like family separation just started today, or even with Obama, but family separation started at the auction blocks. for my Latinos, Latinx, and Black communities. Like it's very important that we all work together in this time. Let's stop fighting for crumbs. Let's have a real seat at the table and let's just know what we're actually fighting for. We're fighting for complete liberation.
Whereas people like 21 Savage and Bamba John were brought to the US by their parents, from 2014 to 2016, the US saw a surge of teenage migrants and asylum seekers traveling alone from Central America. Most were fleeing violence. At the time, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador were considered some of the most dangerous countries in the world, where gangs and police made it nearly impossible to live as a teenager.
I am Garifna. Garifna is one of the ethnicity of my country. It's a Black people in Honduras. We have our own traditional food, our own traditional dance, our own traditional clothing, and also our own language. So it's who I am, it's how I identify myself. I'm also Latina.
And was there ever a time or a moment while you were growing up that you felt unsafe?
Yes, it's kind of like every day the same thing, every day. Hubo un acontecimiento que tal vez marcó más o forzó más la decisión que yo tomara esa decisión de venir acá. Y fue cuando casi cerca vi la muerte. Porque había una tía mía que vivía cerca de mi casa, como a 15 minutos de mi casa. Entonces ella iba a mi casa casi todas las tardes, que estaban robando, asaltando a mi otra tía. Y entonces ellos escucharon que yo estaba gritando y me dispararon así enfrente. Solo vi, la bala fue enfrente de mí, era a mí, porque ellos pensaban que tal vez estaba llamando a la policía o qué sé yo. Entonces, como ya no tenía otra opción y me dispararon a mí, así, casi vi la bala ir frente a mí. Y gracias a Dios que había como un árbol enfrente del portón, que yo estaba detrás del árbol y la bala le pegó al árbol y no me pegó a mí. Entonces, desde ese entonces yo dije, no puedo más, o sea, de aquí me tengo que ir. I called to my mom, I need to leave. I can't be here anymore. So that's why she told me, like, I'm scared because we know the path that I have to face and to get here. But she told me that she was gonna support me.
So first off, it's definitely a beautiful country. I'll say that lately it's been a little bit violent back there, to a point where you don't feel safe even walking out of your home. A lot of gang violence throughout the whole country. So yeah, it's not really just one place, it's like everywhere, pretty much. I would see dead bodies in the streets, just like any normal day. That to me was very, very difficult.
To migrate north, many asylum seekers have to travel with smugglers across the borders of Guatemala and Mexico, risking the threat of violence and sexual abuse during the long journey on buses, trains, and sometimes foot.
So at first it was very difficult. My mom had to make the decision to bring me and my little brother here. I'm sorry. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, take your time, don't worry.
So along the way, we met other people that were also trying to come here. And you just all try to help each other out. There was times that other people will help me carry my little brother when he would be like, oh, my feet hurt.
For many, the final obstacle is crossing the perilous river that divides Mexico and Texas, the infamous Rio Grande. The currents are dangerous and many drown attempting to swim across the river each year.
It was midnight, so we couldn't see anything. I was holding my little brother's hands, and at that time I couldn't even know how to swim.
It was one of the difficult experiences of my life. I was with a little boy, like he was like 11 years old. The river was so hard to cross.
I remember this one night holding my little brother's hand, crossing the river from Mexico to the United States, and then we were stopped by Border Patrol officers. And then they just took us, like I said, I don't know where they took us. They just took us to this, it was like jail-like facility where they had so many other kids, many, many more. They had to separate me and my little brother because they had boys on one side and girls on the other. There were no beds, no mattresses, no nothing. We would just sleep on the floor. And they would give us this blankets, and like that didn't really help at all because it was too cold.
After being taken into custody by Border Patrol, both Karina and Alejandra spent time in detention centers and shelters before being reunited with family, where they awaited their cases in immigration court. Both girls were lucky. They each found pro bono attorneys. Karina worked with Catholic charities, and Alejandra was represented by Kids in Need of Defense.
The immigrant community is everywhere and is so essential to who we are as a country and really as a world. Migration is a global issue. For many of us, migration is a human right. In the last 5 years, legal protection for unaccompanied minors has become more and more difficult, unfortunately. Legal representation is not provided. It is not something that is provided by any of the government agencies. And so organizations like KIND come in to fill in that gap to really make sure that we represent as many children as possible. Unfortunately, we're not able to represent every single child. So there are still immigrant children going into immigration court completely on their own. This is the United States of America. We're an economic superpower. Why are children having to children at any age, having to represent themselves in a legal system that they're unfamiliar with before sometimes hostile immigration judges? It's an absurd thing to ask of any child.
Things are as bad as they've ever been for young people arriving at our southern border. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Department of Homeland Security has expelled over 2,000 kids without hearings, claiming child migrants and asylum seekers could be carriers of the coronavirus.
And unfortunately, we're seeing that this is being used as a political excuse to shut down the border. ICE is now trying to deport individuals as quickly as possible. They're circumventing the protocols that are in place and creating a process where they're taking children to hotels, random hotels. They're assigning random people to take care of them who are not child welfare experts, who are not designated to be in that space at that time, just so that they can deport them as soon as possible again. And these children are now susceptible to human trafficking issues, to violence, to kidnappings, to killings, to rape. I mean, everything that we're trying to protect them from, or the reasons why they were seeking U.S. protections, we are now basically leaving them completely unprotected, sometimes in a foreign country.
I got a full scholarship to college, so I'm double majoring. And it's now when I feel like all those sacrifices that I had to make are worth it.
I told to my mom, now that I'm here, I want to study. That's the first thing that I told to my mom. I want to be a professional.
If I was to go back to the moment you said you were crossing the river, you looked up at the sky and the stars, and I told you that one day, you would be where you are now, reunited with your mom, in college, full scholarship. Would you believe me?
Yeah, I would really like to encourage other kids who are going through this journey as well to never give up, to just keep fighting. People not understanding what we sometimes go through. It's not an easy decision to make. And so it's difficult to, have somebody tell you go back to your country.
Yeah.
But this is my country too.
Looking at the river remind me back in home. Remind me my town, my people. It feels so good. When people say that we just came here to the United States just to not really being productive or you're not contributing nothing to the United States, and they don't know your past. They don't know why you came to take that decision to come here, right? Entonces todos te pueden juzgar, pero algunos de nosotros lo hacemos porque era nuestra última opción, era esto o que te mueras.